I'm Steve Mann and this is Paper Classroom. Welcome to another video tutorial. This is the first in the science series, and as usual for the first video we're going to go through the learning outcomes, what we expect you to be able to do by the time you reach the end of this module. So for science there are 5 major learning outcomes that we need to achieve. We want you to understand about the periodic table. So what's the shape of the periodic table? Why is it shaped that way? Can you identify the blocks? Then we're going to move on to atomic structure. We'll look at the early atomic structure and how it has evolved to the atomic structure that modern day chemists and physicists use. The third learning outcome is all about valence and bonding. What do we mean by valence? How and why is it variable? What are the different types of bonding? The fourth learning outcome, acids and bases and pH. And finally, the fifth outcome is equations, the dreaded equations. Everybody hates equations, but I'm going to show you some simple ways of being able to sort out equations. So, for the periodic table, here's one of many designs of periodic table. And what we want you to do is to be able to say, why is it this shape? Can you see a block here? Can you see another block there? Can you see this third block? And here is a fourth block. So why do we have these blocks? How did they come to be? For atomic structure, we're going to start off with the original concept of atomic structure known as the current bond theory or raisin bond theory. When that no longer worked, Rutherford came up with another theory. Following Rutherford, Niels Bohr came up with a third theory, and today even that model has moved on to other things. And what do we mean by this form of notation? What information can you get out of that notation for the atom of carbon? And then valence and bonding. So here, what of these group numbers on the periodic table, what have they got to do with valence? How can they help us? This is an example of covalent bonding. Why do some atoms choose covalent bonding? This is an example of hydrogen bonding. How does hydrogen bonding affect what's going on in a system? And ionic bonding. How does ionic bonding work? What's the driver? For acids, bases and pH, we want to look at the pH scale from 0 to 14. What do these numbers actually mean? How does pH influence things? We'll look at the pH of common everyday substances. And how does pH affect bonding, in particular in papermaking? What's the importance, what's the relevance of pH to papermaking? And finally, we come to the dreaded equations. I'll start off by asking you, what's the difference between a mathematical equation and a chemical equation? There's a huge difference. With mathematical equations, the rule is whatever you do to one side of the equation, you have to do to the other. In chemistry, we don't have such a rule. I think chemical equations are actually far more simple than mathematical equations. I'm going to teach you how to balance chemical equations, a nice easy way of balancing chemical equations, and how to write chemical equations. Well, that's the end of our introduction. I hope those learning outcomes you feel are within your grasp. Thank you very much for watching this short introductory video. Please enjoy our other videos, and please give us any feedback or any comments that you have on any of our videos.